Ciao Juventini of the world, my name is Giuseppe, welcome back on the channel, I hope you're all doing well. It's Wednesday, the day before Nantes Juventus in Europa League, a game of in or out, because we know that 1 week ago we drew, unfortunately, in our own stadium. There is no other way, we have to go, we have to win in Le Stade de la Beaujoire. That people are telling me it's quite hot. They really start believing the possibility of winning versus Juve. Juventus will have immediately to show that this is not the case, that we are there to win. And apparently Max Allegri has some ideas because he wants to go immediately into the attack. What is the schedule of the Bianconeri of today? At 12 p.m. Italian time, they will train in Torino. After the training session, all together they will have some lunch, and then a bit later in the afternoon they will take the plane to go to Nantes. They will go there, they will try to understand how the field is, what they are usually doing, and then 7:15 p.m. French time, Italian time, or whatever, they will do the press conference as usual for the pre-game of Europa League, or in Europe, that means the coach Massimiliano Allegri with a player. The last time it was Gleison Bremer. I'm really curious to see who it will be today, and tomorrow we have the game. I tell you, the competition is really important. It is crucial for a lot of reasons. First of all, because being eliminated versus the 13th team in Ligue 1 will be another shame in a season where I believe we had already enough. So for our dignity, it's super important to win tomorrow. There is no discussion about that. Then, of course, we can speak about the economical side of things, because we know it, being eliminated of the big game, the Champions League, not going through, you are losing a lot of money. The only way to compensate, at least to go towards the same entries in terms of money of what you could potentially have in going to the round of 16 of Champions League, is winning the competition, something that is really far from today, because if we will win tomorrow, well, of course, you have 8 more games to play in Europa League. Guys, it is a disaster, a really long way. But of course, if you want to believe, and if you want to pair that economical damage that you caused yourself being eliminated in Champions League, there is no other way. You have to win tomorrow. And then, of course, there is still the dream, the big dream of going towards the next Champions League 23-24. Winning the competition is a must, which will be, again, I repeat, super difficult. Yesterday, there were some hopes of fans again, because they saw Paul Pogba training, not partially, but the entire friendly training game. We can't even speak about a friendly game. It's a training game in family, mixing the players that didn't play versus Spezia, next gen players, all of them were mixed. Well, Pogba played the entire training session, and he did quite well, accelerating in some movements. So we see that Pogba is starting to recuperate. In Gazzetta dello Sport, but also Tutto Sport, all the papers are saying that he can potentially be there for the Derby della Mole on Tuesday, so 6 days from now on. But there are some people that are starting to give also some hope to Juventini that he could potentially be called up for Nantes already tomorrow. Guys, I don't want to give false hope. We already spoke so many times about Paul Pogba. I don't know if he will be called up. I don't believe he will be called up. This evening, we will probably ask the question to Max Allegri, and we will know more. Being called up doesn't mean that he will play. We saw it versus Monza. We were all happy. We were already ready to celebrate the comeback finally of Paul Pogba, because we are waiting for him since already more than 6 years. It's 6 years and a half that we are waiting for the Frenchman. Well, he didn't enter versus Monza. So I don't want to emphasize it too much. I don't want to take too much time about that. He trained with the next gen and with the first team partially. He did already better, and this is a great news. Anyway, my opinion about Paul Pogba is that the season, unfortunately, is already over for the Frenchman with the number 10. Why am I saying that? Because even if he starts playing versus Torino or not, or the game after, well, whatever, he will never be at 100% before the end of the season. We are already in March. There are still, of course, some games to play, but we will not see a Pogba full continuity. And this, of course, is a sad story, but I started to accept it, that this year it's already over. All the games, the minutes that we will see Pogba in this season playing with Juventus will be a bonus. Unfortunately, because the initial thoughts and objectives and dreams were totally different, it is what it is. So let's see what he will say. Are Max Allegri dreaming about Europe? Because Pogba wants to play in Europe in a competition that he already won with Manchester United, scoring in that final. Will he be able to do it again? Well, everything depends on tomorrow's game, because Juventus needs to win versus Nantes. Otherwise, that dream of Paul Pogba and the Juventini will already go away. Tuttosport is speaking about Juve all'attacco, because if we want to win, we can't replicate the game we did versus Spezia. Of course, in result, yes, but not in performance. We have to do much better. And that's why Max Allegri, and we already talked about it since a few days, is thinking about an attacking Juve. Maybe going towards a 3-4-3. 3-4-3, a lineup that Di Marzio is already putting on paper, with Szczesny into the goal, Brazilian defense that we are now used to, Kostic on the left, De Sciglio on the right, Rabiot, Locatelli as a double pivot, and then up front the magic trio, the trident, Chiesa, Vlahovic and Di Maria. I don't believe that this can be the initial lineup. Why? Because the big question is Federico Chiesa, that trained partially with the team. Today will be a big test to understand how many minutes Federico Chiesa has in his legs. We will understand a bit more, but don't forget that tomorrow is not only a 90 minutes game, but there is the possibility to go at 120 minutes. Playing immediately with the three up front, that means that you are actually burning your jokers on the bench. Nobody being able to enter in second half. That 3-4-3 with the same when with Federico Chiesa could potentially become a 4-2-3-1 with De Sciglio playing a bit more on the back. We saw it in the last game that in certain parts of the game we played with a 4-man defense, double pivot again, but this time a bit more offensively with Chiesa on the right, Kostic on the left, Di Maria and Vlahovic up front. Again, the same men as Di Marzio, but alternating that 3-4-3 towards a 4-2-3-1. What are the other options if Federico Chiesa is not playing? Well, we could potentially see again a 4-3-3, but this time with Kostic a bit more higher on the field with three midfielders. That means Fagioli, Locatelli and Rabiot. That of course will be another decision that Max Allegri will have to make, and probably will hear it this evening, because we know with Paredes totally flopped. Paredes will not play as a starter versus Nantes. He played versus Nantes, he plays versus Spezia, and both of the time he didn't convince neither us supporters, but also not Max Allegri. So that can be potentially one, knowing that if you do so, you probably miss someone on the bench. Another alternative, and that depends on Cuadrado, can be that 3-4-2-1 with Cuadrado on the right, so a more offensive team, but then with Fagioli playing in that 3-4-2-1 next to Di Maria being able to recuperate and to give some support to the midfield. Which one will it be? Big question again this evening, and I will try to do again a live at 7 p.m. this evening to speak and to translate immediately the words of Max Allegri with a player that he will choose. Let's see what he will say about the formation, even if I'm not sure if he will show all his cards, like a real poker player. Corriere dello Sport is speaking, rightfully so, about Napoli, Galattici, you know, remembering the Galacticos of Real Madrid. Real Madrid that yesterday won 5-2 versus Liverpool. I made my debrief, and an important thing I said about Juventus in that video of yesterday, go back and watch it. I didn't watch the game of Napoli, but I heard that they were doing again fantastic, with an Osimhen that is scoring, with a Kvaratskhelia that is on fire with that fantastic assist for the 2 goals. Of course, I watched the highlights. Congratulations for them. They are doing super well. Gazzetta dello Sport rightfully so also putting Osimhen in big. Today there is Inter that is playing versus Porto. Milan won versus Tottenham. Napoli won versus Frankfurt. Today there is the third Italian team that could potentially win versus Porto. Attenzione to Porto, I'm not sure about that. The last news of the day, Juve next gen that qualified for the final of Coppa Italia, the third, the Serie A Coppa Italia. They go into the final. It is a home and away game. The decision has been made that we will play in our Allianz Stadium for the second time this year for our under 23, for our next gen. Really beautiful because we have the highest attendance for this year in Serie C. Can we do it again for the home game of Serie C? Could be really beautiful. There will be one absence, a big absence for that first game. It is Dean Huijsen, because he received a yellow card, will not be able to play that final, and it's a big pity. Anyway, he will be there for the return game, but there will be a newness. So for that final, they decided to introduce for the very first time VAR, so the VAR will be present for that game. Let's see. We will finish with the news that my friend Softic, I don't know if he will watch the game or not, but if Softic is still there and if he's watching, he will probably be happy, because De Zerbi has been linked to a few teams like Tottenham, Roma, Inter, Milan, but also Juventus for the next season. I don't believe in it. I'm asking myself, why should you leave Brighton after not even a full season? Well, apparently he's frustrated by the Campagna Acquisti because of the transfer market that was not great in January for Brighton. I don't see him leaving immediately, but you never know. I never believed in De Zerbi at Juventus in terms of behaviors, way of thinking that is quite far away from Juve. Then you never know. What about De Zerbi? I know he's a hyped trainer, a hyped coach, one that is in big form, showing beautiful things at Brighton. So let me know also what you think about that one. Anyway, thank you for following the channel this evening. Put the notification ring on, because at a certain moment I will pop up with a live translation of the press conference of today. Grazie, forza, Juve.